What would you like to share?
Nothing, we're good. Thank you for coming tonight. Welcome to this December Board of Supervisors meeting. I call this meeting to order.
I call to order the meeting for the King George Board of Directors for the Service Authority.
Stand up real quick so we can, the invocation led by Mr. Collins, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Lord, as we gather together this evening as a community and as supervisors and all those that put in the work to make this county great, we ask for your blessings, your continued blessings, and we ask for your safety during this holiday season. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have any amendments to the agenda? None? All right, so this time I open the floor to public comment. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Afford everyone a chance to speak. Please state your full name and the district in which you vote so it can be properly recorded in the public record. First up, I have Judy. You go ahead, you're on the list.
Hi, Tootie Moncure, James Madison District. I speak today because I believe our Planning Commission needs more representative voices that truly reflect the people who live, work, and care about the future of our county. Decisions about growth, land use, and the character of our community affect all of us who actually live here: families, renters, small business owners, longtime residents, and newcomers alike. A planning process that includes only a narrow slice of the community cannot fully capture what our district needs or aspires to be. We deserve an advisory voice to our board where all citizens have a seat at the table, not just those with large holdings or specific interests. I have been deeply involved in this process for quite some time, showing up at meetings, participating, studying the issues, and engaging with my neighbors. Through that involvement, I've learned how critical it is for our community to have someone who not only understands the issues, but listens to the people most affected by them. Bringing that perspective into all discussions and decisions is vital. The commission needs a voice from the James Madison District, someone who is engaged, willing to learn, and dedicated to representing the broader community. I care deeply about the future of this place and want that future to be shaped by the people who call it home. It would be an honor to serve. I would be prepared to gain proper certification to strengthen my understanding of best practices and promise to serve the county with a high degree of knowledge and professionalism. Thank you.
Thank you. Pastor Davis.
Thank you. My name is Pastor Davis, Drummer Davis. I'm voted in the Dalkin District. First, I would like to thank Mr. Collins for his service. He's got one more meeting, and he will be behind us, but I want to thank him for his service. And also, we have a lady comes to our meetings pretty regularly by the name of Ken Dodge, and she's in critical condition at Mary Washington Hospital in intensive care. So we should pray for Kim. They only really give her a couple of days. She had a massive stroke. And then one of our deputies, Brother Stephen Kellum, his grandfather passed away this morning. So pray for Stephen. And we'll read you a verse of scripture and get out of your way. Scripture says in Psalm 1, "Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and his law doth he meditate day and night. And he should be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in due season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper." Verse 4 says, "The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. The Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. Our Father, we thank you for this word. We pray for Lord Kim that's in serious condition tonight, and we ask God that you would work there in her family's life. And Lord, we pray for Brother Steve Kellum and his family, Lord, as their loved one has passed away. And Lord, we'll praise you for all that you do. We love you. In Jesus' wonderful name, we ask these things. Amen and amen. And thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Anna Marie.
Hi, my name is Ana Maria Lobo. I live in Presidential Lakes. Tonight, I want to thank you for your service with a special thanks to Mr. Dan Hamilton. The service authority is a very challenging job because he has been in chaos for a long time. I also want to give a special thanks to King George Fire and Rescue. On the morning, November 2nd of this year, I was awakened at 1 o'clock in the morning when my husband fainted while in the bathroom. He had a bad reaction to a new medication he had been prescribed. I was unable to get him up, so I called 911. They were there within 5 to 10 minutes. They helped him to his bed, and then they checked his blood pressure and blood sugar levels. All were good. They asked if we want them to take him to the hospital. We decided that it was not necessary at that time. So I want to give you a special thanks to the paramedics, Kristen Alden, Jean Hill, and Grant Williams for going out of the way to help us. It meant so much to us. Your kindness was true gift, and we are so grateful. Also, I want to ask about the solar panels. It's kind of sad that all of you agreed to this project, even after the Planning Commission voted 4-1 in September to deny this project. Who will benefit from these solar panels? The people who own the land, Dominion Virginia Power Company that will operate the solar panels, the contractors who will build this project, but the people of King George, not so much. Where will these solar panels be manufactured? I asked them before, in the US or in China. Also, it's wrong that you approve a project that will enrich the county lawyer. This seems like a conflict of interest. Thank you.
Thank you. James Shaw.
James Shaw, James Monroe District, columnist for the Northern Next Sentinel, citizen journalist, kgmedia.top, speaking tonight simply as a county citizen who owns a gun. The other theme here is that of historian, which I wore that hat about 18 months ago. The first Board of Supervisors meeting in December marks an anniversary of sorts. A few of you were here that night about 6 years ago on December 3rd, 2019. For those of you who use Excel spreadsheets, 2,191 days ago. The board in those days wanted more citizen involvement. It was perhaps rumored that some of the seats had cobwebs in the back due to lack of use. No slight intended towards the Revercombe janitorial team. With the November 5th, 2019 election, a change occurred in the electoral balance in Richmond, and thus sleepy issues all of a sudden became front page news and the subject of proposed or recently passed legislation. Gun rights in Virginia were openly threatened, so citizens in counties across the Commonwealth started writing and passing sanctuary county ordinances soon thereafter. Appomattox County was first, passing theirs on November 18th, 2019. King George was part of a 40-county group that followed soon thereafter. The Freelance Star, 2 days later on Thursday, ran a front page story on the event. Kathy, your face shows up on A5. And on the cover, we have a picture here, and the caption reads, "The Reverend James Shaw asks King George supervisors to protect people like him, a good guy with a gun." We now hear the 2026 anti-Second Amendment legislation rumblings coming out of Richmond. So let us, as citizens, prepare, inform our legislators, and thank God for our unalienable rights declared in the Bill of Rights. God bless the King George Renaissance, where unalienable rights are treasured here. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak?
Miles Hastings, James Madison District. Tonight, I noticed that you're taking on the task of looking at replacing the top of the athletic field again. And I got to thinking about that. Something that happened in 2010 was that the referee commission, or whoever they were, had decided that they couldn't use the pit that year because it was in too bad a shape. And the new high school field hadn't been completed. So Stan Mitchell had approached me about what could we do to take care of the pit and get it back in condition. And I know this is an entirely different situation, but thought it was humorous. But my part in the thing, I brought a no-till drill up to the school and ran over the field 4 times. There were also some young high school boys involved in helping and learning how to calibrate a grain drill and stuff with the FFA program, different things. But I was told I had to submit a bill. Well, that was my alma mater. I wanted to do it for free, but that's the way things kind of work. And I'm sure y'all have seen that before in the county. And so here was my bill, $182.50. And if you remember that year, 2010, they said the field never looked better. But think outside the box as the recreation department approaches you about replacing the sod and all these things that have to be done. There are people around here that can help out. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Is there anyone online?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Any correspondence? All right. So we'll close public comment at this time, and we'll move on to reports of members of the board. Mr. Stroud? You don't want to go first again, I understand. Ms. Bender.
All right. First, let me swing back the page. I wanted to thank county staff for bringing their favorite foods and all the help that everybody did for the 2nd annual turkey fry celebration that we had just before Thanksgiving. I know Mr. Smolnick loves that event, and I did enjoy Madison. It was Madison who had the blow-up turkey outfit. That was fun to watch, and she was so proud of that outfit. I think she wore it the rest of the day as a drape over top. But it was just fun, exciting event, so I wanted to thank everybody involved. I also attended the graduation ceremony for the Recruit Academy 6 at the middle school. I wanted to thank Chief Moody and all of his staff for the academy and how nice the presentation was. Actually, I do not know the names of those that were on that call, but I wanted to highlight that my neighbor went out to assist, and he had spoken that one of the victims in the car was not alive when she was pulled out of the car. And our county staff resuscitated her, and by the time she got to the hospital, she was alive. So I want to commend our fire and rescue staff, the excellence they are to save that young lady's life. So I just want to give another shout out to our fire and rescue. Had our GWRC board meeting. Mr. Sullins and Mr. Metz did come as a new representative. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, and Mr. Stewart probably remembers this is coming his way. At Election Day, I had some folks ask me a bunch of questions while I was out there at the polls. And one of the questions was about the referendum. And the question was from the citizens, because the referendum passed, don't we have to build an elementary school? So Mr. Stewart?
No. The answer is you ran the referendum to allow you to finance it in the most cost-effective means. It does not legally obligate you to do it because of the referendum.
Right, thank you. I was just waiting for you to come back to be able to say that. And then the last thing was about the noise ordinance that with options.
Mr. Smolnik was going to give me an opportunity I've got some things for you all for discussion or for you to review. I've also got some information from the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. So if you will allow us to do it during his time, I can give you some handouts and let you chew on it a bit.
I appreciate that. I just had it down in my board report, so I remembered. So thank you. That's the end of my public comment.
Lee, almost forgot about you, buddy. Sorry.
No, it's all good. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have much for the group tonight. I do just want to thank those who came out and spoke. It's great to continue seeing folks come out. It's great to hear some of the comments from the crowd this evening. I would echo a number of them, and special thanks to our fire and EMS. They are fabulous people as we see them around the community, and we are very privileged and very blessed to have such great members of our fire, rescue, EMS, and our county sheriff's department. Thank you. That's all I got.
Mr. Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As my time comes to an end, I'd like to just thank everyone again, and I'll see you out there and about. Earlier in the public comments, Tootie said she'd be willing to serve on the Planning Commission. So, Mr. Stroud, if you nominate her, I'll second it.
That's actually first on my list whenever it comes to me.
Okay. So you got a second coming. So on that solar project on Caldon Road, so our job as the Board of Supervisor was a special exemption. It was not anything to do with the easement. So the Planning Commission went down a rabbit hole that it had no business going down. It had nothing to do, that's why they voted 4-1, because it got so jumbled that they didn't even know the information they were voting on. So anyhow, and the 2A resolution, now that's still in effect, because once the resolution is, it doesn't stop unless somebody stops it, and I don't think anybody up here would. Mr. Hastings, thanks for doing that field. There's plenty more fields, and King Georgia could use some work. So it's nice to know, and we appreciate all you've done for the county. Thank you so much. That's the end of my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Mr. Stroud.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to nominate Ms. Tootie Moncure to the Planning Commission.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? By roll call, Mr. Collins.
Aye.
Mr. Stroud.
Aye.
Ms. Bender.
Aye.
Mr. Sullins.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Congratulations.
He's been very dedicated. He devotes a lot of time, and people don't realize, there's thousands of citizens in the county that on these Tuesdays, twice a month, are home, either spending time with their families or watching TV or doing whatever, and probably don't have a clue what goes on, much less all the hours and time that's spent getting ready for these meetings. And you know that Supervisor Collins is diligent, reading everything twice and counting all the numbers as well. He's gone through a few calculators, but he has definitely dedicated a lot of time to this county. That's time that he'll never get back. I mean, as life gets shorter, he'll never get that time back. So he's very deserving of our thanks. He's been very gracious with that. And I'm very grateful, sir, to you and everything that you've done for the county and me personally as well. So thank you. Miss Anna Marie, you brought up the solar panels and whether they're made in the U.S. And I don't think we know yet whether the ones they're using are made in the U.S. because there are at least 2 that I'm aware of that are made in the U.S. I guess comment regarding the county attorney and the conflict of interest. I really don't see any conflict with that. So I know there are a lot of people that looks at those things. Okay. And, you know, we set up here and we're under a lot of scrutiny with things like that. And I hear people that, you know, throw things out there. Some of them do it on social media and they're like, well, you know, there's money going in their pocket or this is going on and so forth. And it's rather, you know, irritating, you know, because it's not that they really know anything, but it's easy for them to say something that, you know, one, that's not truth, but there's no, you know, I guess, I don't know whether they put effort into actually finding out or not. It's difficult to go to every one of them and say, you know, and I guess prove your innocence, but there's no need because here in the U.S., luckily and thankfully, unless we're talking about the IRS, then you're innocent until proven guilty. But the thing is I know the people up here and nobody up here would take any money for anything. I mean, it just, you know, it just doesn't happen. But in the county attorney's part, and as far as there being a conflict, because there's been comments made about conflict with my business and things like that. So I will say that, you know, there are things, the county attorney, he's not going to do anything that is illegal or wrong. And honestly, I'd be embarrassed to make an accusation towards that man because I've known him for some time. And I know that he's very upright and so forth. But the other thing is that he knows, and everybody knows that in this situation is that there's going to be a lot of scrutiny there. So why would he ever do anything knowing that scrutiny is going to be there that would be wrong? Okay, it's just not. Okay, but the other thing though that probably would concern me is this: people such as the county attorney or myself, if we looked at the scrutiny and really these people that say things, because people do, and most of them aren't. You know, I don't know about their intelligence because they may be able to get a degree from an institution that they paid to get it. But whenever it comes to their intelligence and the comments they make, you know, I don't think they're that intelligent because. But if we took that to heart and we said, you know what, I'm concerned about scrutiny, or I'm concerned about this, or I don't know what people are going to say, so I'm not going to run for public office, or I'm not going to do this. If the county attorney said, you know what, I'm just done with this, and decided not to take this job, we as a county would lose a lot. We would lose a whole lot because one, we'd lose his experience, his knowledge, and you know, what we pay is much less than what we paid before. And we didn't have that knowledge or that experience. And the county lost a lot whenever you look at the Amazon deal where the county attorney was representing us. So, you know, in making accusations, I think that people should be careful because, you know, some of the the things that could come of that, the repercussions would just be negative for us. And, you know, I know that the county attorney wouldn't do anything or it would have a conflict either, especially a conflict of interest, because I've had that conversation with him a number of times over the years. So I can assure you that there isn't any there. I'm sure he'd be happy to address it as well, though. Reverend Shaw, as far as I know TC mentioned it, you know, it's thank you for bringing the topic up on the sanctuary, Second Amendment sanctuary county. because we have gotten a number of emails or calls or there's conversation about it. And I can assure you, and I've responded in an email, that I support the Second Amendment in the Sanctuary County very strongly. And, you know, again, I don't know of anybody who wouldn't support it, but in this county, it wouldn't be well received to be against it. I actually, that night here, had signature sheets, and that everybody, or I say everybody, as many people as possible to sign up on a notepad. And I don't know if I have that any longer, but it was a very, very good turnout. And there were a lot of pages of, you know, names of people that turned out that night. So we had a very good showing, and I was very proud of the county and the people that showed up to support that. And I'm sure that if it ever became an issue, that at least that many would show up again. So thank you for bringing it up, though. Mr. Hastings, you fall into the great American category, because that's what America is. The people that come together and help their community and work together to do such things. And it's hard to find. I shouldn't say it's hard to find. You just don't hear about. You hear so much more negativity nowadays than you do positive things. So there are still, you know, people out there who want to do great things. And thank you, sir, for being willing to do that. I don't know how it would fit into this particular issue that gets discussed tonight, but I just don't know that much about turfs and stuff. But I'm very grateful for you coming up and talking about it and what you've done before and mentioning it. That's all I've got, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Suttles.
Thank you, sir. So I just want to echo what my colleagues have said with the thanks for the folks that made public comment. I won't go back and rehash all those things. Just to keep things kind of short, relatively quick week in terms of engagement. Like Ms. Bender said, did the Fredericksburg area Metropolitan Planning Organization and the George Washington Regional Commission. So those meetings were actually combined this week. So that was kind of nice. Probably the most fun thing I've had in the last couple of weeks was attending the graduation of the Recruit Academy 6 and watching King George's newest firemen take their oaths of office. That was interesting because I've always just assumed, a fireman, it's a job. I didn't realize that they take oaths of office very similar to the one that I took when I joined the military and some of my colleagues up here. It really shouldn't surprise me, though. When we're all running away from danger, those are the guys and gals that are running toward it, and they're looking through trying to find people that didn't find a way out. They're trying to preserve as much property and life as they can, so I guess it makes sense that they would take an oath of office, because it means a lot. That ceremony was really cool, too. It was very military in nature. And I want to thank Deputy Chief Henson for serving as the keynote speaker. A lot of good words to say, but among the inspirational thoughts, he touched on three things that are very near and dear to me: the Old Testament, the New Testament, and Alabama football. So that was cool. So I guess in wrapping it up, I want to thank and congratulate King George's newest firemen, Caleb Bardeen, Logan Constant, Jonathan McCain, Callan Thompson, Dale Webster, and Deshaun White. Fellas, this is only the beginning, though. I'm looking forward to reading and hearing about all the cool things that happen to you as your career plays out. So giddy up.
That it?
That's it.
That's what giddy up means.
He said the Navy runs away.
I got it. I was trying now. As soon as I said something, I knew you were going to say something.
That's the reason I didn't say anything about you having an oath of office.
All right. So once again, thank you, everyone, for being here. It's been a great year. I got a chance to go to the Recruit 6 and had a chance to speak beforehand and just lead the invocation there and pray for safety. They asked me to pray for safety over top of the people there and the firefighters. And I was like, where does that start? It really starts with the families, because and I painted the picture of it being almost like being a pastor's son. And I grew up a pastor's son, so my dad was getting called at 2 a.m. and he was here and he was always ministering somewhere and he was with someone's family. And people understand that when you're a police officer or when you're a firefighter or when you're in the military, that your family is paying the price too for you to do what you do. You're gone for days at a time. You are home for days at a time, but you're gone. You're missing Little League games. You're missing recitals. You're missing all kinds of things just to to save lives and to protect our lives. And it really is a family investment. So when you see a fireman or you see a fire lady, you're seeing someone who there's probably people at home that are also paying the price for them to be there to serve you. So and I just wanted to make sure that that's the safety I pray over those people too, just their marriages and all that. One of the coolest things about it was I coached middle school football here in King George. A lot of people knew years ago. And one of my players, Logan Constant, was on my team. And he was there getting sworn in. And it's good to see good local guys. If you want to keep people in your force and you don't want them to go looking for money somewhere else, you hire hometown guys, people that love their county and want to be there. They're not there for the money. They're there because they love to be there. And I told Logan, I said, I knew you'd be a fireman, you were going to be a police officer, or you're going to be in the Army or something way back when you were in 8th grade. And he was like, and those were the 3 I was looking at, Coach. And it was just good to see him and see those guys doing that. The elementary school got brought up. I haven't had any constituent write me an email or reach out to me, and nor I don't think any of the board members have as far as when that's going to take place. But the school themselves, and I just want to thank you, Mr. Boyd. This is probably probably one of the best relationships the two boards have had in a very good. When I came on, people wanted to do a retreat in 2024 so that the boards could try to get along, and our boards seem to mesh pretty. And we have one vision of where we want to go, and the school themselves have changed the vision as far as maybe right now it's not the time for the elementary school, but they see a bigger need, something that we can really fill a need for our county. And enrollment was down a little bit more than what was predicted and things were going to be. And we're not at max capacity, and I think it was 2 over in the high school. And so we were looking at the VOTEC building and how that would probably take almost about 100 people, maybe possibly out of the building at a time. So it's something that we need here. The kids need to learn a trade. Not everyone wants to go to college. It's not everyone's dream to go to college. And in this day and age, people need to learn how to do some things on their own, and it's going to be good that they do. The solar farm, this one was different than the rest of them, Ms. Amory, because it does benefit the citizens of King George County. There's no substations on it. The electricity from those panels are being pumped directly into for King George residents to use it. There's no substation to pump it somewhere else like the other solar farm products that have come here. They were gonna have substations, so that stuff was gonna get sent to Pennsylvania or somewhere else. This right here, there's fiber lines leading directly to almost basically the pole, and it's going directly into our grid. So it does benefit us in that way. Thank you for your volunteering for the turf. That's kind of a big deal. I tell people all the time when things are getting done around here, I say, when I grew up in King George, almost everything we did was built by volunteers. The Dahlgren Fire Station was built by people who had construction businesses. They got together and they built the building. That's just what it was. When they planted the Christmas tree out here, the new one, and I was like, what did y'all do? And they paid a bunch of money and stuff to do it. I was like, you probably could have reached out to, we had several different people out here. Somebody off their farm probably would have donated a tree. There's just, that's how, if you go back to King George history and really follow history, that's how almost everything was built and done. Was the community got together and they said, we need to build something, and they built it together. And it really kept costs down. But the 2A sanctuary, we addressed that in January 2024. I think the second meeting that we had in office, it was brought to us. I think your son-in-law came up and was standing at the podium, brought it up, and I echoed and said that yes, we would protect gun rights. I think that if you're going to speak to that, probably one of the most, if not the most important position in this county is that in a couple years from now, you're going to be elected a new sheriff, is that you make sure that the sheriff that you vote in is going to be one who protects the Second Amendment. That's going to be the most important part in keeping that. The board up here can say what they want to say, but if you have a sheriff who doesn't want to go by that, it's not really going to much matter. So you just make sure that when it comes up, like right now we have a sheriff that does protect the Second Amendment and he stands on the Constitution. So I mean, if looking forward in the future, that's the place you need to be looking at, okay? Thank you again for being here. At this time, I will close. What?
Yes, sir. On the planning commission spot for Ms. Tootie Moncure, I would like to clarify that real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd like to nominate her to fill the unexpired term of Mr. Kevin Myers, which expires on 3/21/28.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, so we will close reports, members of the board, and we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair.
Chair,
Mr. Collins?
would we pull out 12-01.03?
12-01.03, you want to vote on that one separately?
Yes, sir.
I can do that. Do I have a motion?
So I'll make a motion to approve the whole consent agenda except 1201.03.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Stroud?
Aye.
Ms. Bender?
Aye.
Mr. Collins?
Aye.
Mr. Sullins? Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Mr. Collins, I'm going to bring it back up now to you, 12-01.03. You have some questions around that one?
I do, sir.
Then why do we want it removed?
I have a question, sir.
Okay.
I have a question regarding the Assura maintenance contract for $63,000. If we could, ask Ms. Laverne if she could tell us what that was for.
Good evening, Board. That is the annual maintenance contract for cybersecurity through IT. So Mr. Dines would know more about it. What did happen was they increased the price by $200. So it's like 12 memberships, and they cost like $5,200 for each. But Mr. Dines can definitely fill you guys in a little bit more on that.
Come on up. Thank you, Mr. Dines.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Board. Yes, they went up $200 a month, so that cost was pretty much set for the last 7 years. It had been $60,000 for 7 years, so they just went up this year. So for the budgets coming up, I've just put in an escalator each year just in case they decide to go up again. But what they do is, with the regulations that we have, and you know about them, Mr. Stroud and Mr. Sullins, how the NIST, the CGIS, yes, all of the agencies, federal and state, that regulate the cybersecurity and have guidelines that we must follow. And it's usually directly, in the beginning, was directly tied to the elections. So there's a less assessment that we have to do every year. And they put rules and guidelines in that each locality must follow. For instance, like when Mr. Stroud brought up the 1Password, at the year after that, for all the key members of our teams in the whole county that need to have their password in a separate location so that if someone gets fired, someone leaves, something happens, that the person who's going to fill in for them is able to keep right up with all of the different things that they might be logging into for grants and all kinds of online activities that they need to do their job. So that's one of the things that's, we have to have our penetration test, inside and outside, external, internal. There's a bevy of things. So each year we do this less assessment, and we sit down with the registrar, and she has her plan. We have our cybersecurity plan. So we all have to mesh. So these people are on top of all of those things that go on, like in the state Senate. Mm-hmm. So they know what needs to be done. And so we go to them, and they help us make sure that we're compliant. And so we go through, it first started out with thousands of lines of things, but they've kind of narrowed it down to about 500 or 600 now. So we have to make sure every year that we're moving towards making sure that we're upgraded and we're on the schedule that they set that we need to follow. And so this company, Assura, is based out of Virginia, and most
Everybody take their seat so we can start over. All right, guys, we're going to bring the Board of Directors meeting back and the long-awaited Dan Hamilton, General Manager's report.
All right, good evening, folks. My name is Dan Hamilton. I'm the General Manager of the King George County Service Authority. Thank you all for coming out in this chilly and damp weather. Thank you, Ms. Lovell, for your kind remarks. Starting to worry. I'm going to let you down. I don't plan on it. In any case, I'm going to try to give you a very brief report this evening. I want to follow up on a conversation we had 2 weeks ago. As most of you know, I'm sure all of you know, we've had a short 2 weeks because we had a 4-day holiday, so not a lot has changed. But we were just in the process of installing the new solids press at the Dahlgren wastewater plant. Am I coming out through the mic? Yes? Okay. We had just gotten that press installed. We were still in the process of making the interconnections. At the beginning of last week, the factory representative came in, I think on the Sunday night before Thanksgiving. He was here until Tuesday afternoon. Got the press operational. We had it inspected by a consulting engineer on Wednesday and submitted a certificate to operate to the Department of Environmental Quality. And this afternoon, we received permission to go ahead and run it, which is good because we can't afford to not have a solids press at the wastewater plant. So we owe John Eisenbeis and the maintenance staff a lot of credit. I believe my understanding is there was a $200,000 price tag that would have come with having a contractor do the installation and the interconnection. I was concerned about the management of the rigging contractor and taking on that responsibility and risk, but it's done, it's in, and it's working, so that's very good news. Also, in the last 2 weeks, we've had 3 water leaks. One of those was just a simple leaking service line. One of those was a failed pipe and saddle connection to an individual home. And one of those was an instance where a contractor installing fiber optic cable in Oakland Park wiped out about 50 feet of water main on the night before Thanksgiving. And the crew stayed out late and got that back together. We only had about 7 customers out of service, as I understand it. Also, last week or the end of the week before, excuse me, folks, we got some phone calls about trucks connected to fire hydrants over at the entrance to the Hop Yard plant, the Hop Yard area on Port Conway Road, I believe it is. As it turned out, that was a contractor who was doing work for us who was authorized to connect to the fire hydrant. But the sheriff's department had notified us about things like this, and citizens have called us about this. I just want to encourage people to do that. We greatly appreciate that. There are people who potentially could connect to a fire hydrant who don't have permission and don't have a meter, and so we don't know how much water they're taking. They're essentially stealing water. They may not realize they are. But we need to keep an eye on that. It's something we're working on. If they're not properly connected with the proper kind of equipment, they could potentially cause a backflow into the system and make people sick. We don't want that. So people may think they're being a nuisance, but I welcome those calls. If you see vehicles connected to a fire hydrant other than a fire truck, which of course we welcome the fire department to use, please feel free to reach out and let us know. We will send somebody to check it if we're not aware that that's already happening. We also did send out the bi-monthly bills. Excuse me, I wasn't hoarse until it was my time to talk. The week before Thanksgiving, we've been getting a number of phone calls about the auto pay option. People are excited to have that option again. There's a little bit of confusion about how to set it up, but we're not getting anywhere near the volume of complaints and concerns that we had about that. Otherwise, I think that's the end of my report. I did also want to thank Mr. Collins for my very short period of time here. He has kept me on my toes. I appreciate his service, and I have not forgotten your request to prepare a legislative agenda. I'll probably seek counsel from Mr. Smolnik and Mr. Stewart on how to best do that as we move into the new year, and I will keep you informed. Otherwise, I don't think I will be here in 2 weeks. I intend to leave a written brief report to the chair or possibly the county engineer, Bryce Young, or both. Otherwise, I wish you all a happy holiday and welcome any questions.
Does anybody have any questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Well, we will move on to the secondary public comment to address meeting items only. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person in order to afford everyone an opportunity to speak. Please provide your full name and district when submitting your public comment so that it can be properly recorded and included in the public record. Does anybody want to come up and speak just on the Service Authority? Anna Marie, the podium is yours.
I want to thank you, Mr. Dan Hamilton, for the Service Authority, because the Service Authority is very challenging job. I just received my bill, and you have a lot of choice in the bill. You can pay at the courthouse, you can mail, or you can get in through the internet and pay your bill. And thank you for doing that. I've been doing that, paying the bill for 50 years at the courthouse, but that's okay. I really thank you, Mr. Dan. You're doing a good job. And also, I've been working with the Service Authority for 50 years. Thank you.
I'm grateful for your comments, and I'm well aware that people want the option to pay in person and pay via mail. That's not going away. Should have probably mentioned that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Is there anybody online, Mr. Dines?
No one, thank you.
All right. Well, with that, we will close public comment and we will look for a motion for adjournment.
Madam Chair, I move that we adjourn the Board of Directors to Tuesday, December 16th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. in the boardroom of the Revercom Building located at 10459 Courthouse Drive, King George, Virginia.
Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion properly second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carried. We close the meeting of the Board of Directors. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up, public hearing 12-11. The King George County Board of Supervisors now hold a public hearing that has been properly advertised to receive public input regarding Chapter 14 taxation and an amendment to the personal property ordinance. Second, an amendment to the transit occupancy tax ordinance. I will first ask the staff report from Ms. Regina Puckett. I will then open the floor to the public for public comment. Public comment at that time will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Please state your full name and where you vote so it can be held in the public record. Upon completion of public comment, I will bring the matter back to the board for consideration. Ms. Regina Puckett.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Regina Puckett, Commissioner of the Revenue. This public hearing is for the personal property ordinance to be updated to include wording that allows for our locality to have an alternate method of filing personal property. We've been doing this since 2017. We just need the ordinance to update it. Transient and occupancy update on the ordinance should include wording that mandates the annual filing of an attestation document if it's applicable.
Mr. Chairman, we may want to take those up separately since they're independent ordinances. I know with the personal property ordinance, there are 2 ways you can do it in Virginia that allows the county to do it. And one is you have to send that form in every year. Some time ago, the Commissioner of Revenue's office decided to not do that anymore and to pursue an alternative method, which just the alternative method just says if anything changes, you need to let us know. But Regina gets all that information anyway through DMV. She gets the report through that, so she knows if anything changes. But I think what she's asking the board to do and for the public to comment on is to allow you that alternative method where you don't have to send that form in, which is what the county's been doing for right many years now. They just never changed the ordinance. So this is a cleanup on Regina's part.
That's a personal property ordinance.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. First one's a personal property ordinance.
Any questions from Ms. Puckett?
Mr. Chair, I just want on this, just one comment, Ms. Puckett. I do appreciate you trying to clean up a lot of stuff, and you've been bringing up one at a time, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is anyone from the public that would like to speak? All right, I will close public comment as well. I'll bring it back to the board for consideration. Any discussion? This is just pertaining to the first one, an amendment to the personal property ordinance, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that which makes it so you don't have to send that form in every year, which they haven't been asking for anyway.
But the public comment is for both, so we can address them both, but separately.
We need to do them one at a time. When you're doing an ordinance, you ought to have a public hearing on one ordinance at a time. So this is the personal property one. Getting rid of the form, and then he could do a second one for the transient occupancy tax.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
As soon as I close the public hearing.
I thought you did.
Did not. I did. I closed public comment. Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the personal property ordinance section 14-13.
Second.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? A roll call, Mr. Stroud.
Aye.
Ms. Bender.
Aye.
Mr. Collins.
Aye.
Mr. Sullins.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. We need a motion for the number 2.
And so, Mr. Chairman, the second ordinance that Ms. Puckett has brought before you has to do with the transient occupancy tax. And all this does is this clarifies that an intermediary, because some of these houses that rent on whatever the site is, and I won't name one because I'm not supposed to. Sometimes they have intermediaries that collect this tax and then remit it to the treasurer. So what this would allow for is a form that we drafted and the amended ordinance which allows for that. And again, this is really a cleanup that Regina has brought before the board. I've reviewed all these. They're in good order. And I can try, or she can try to answer any questions you may have about it.
Are there any questions about that one either? I see none.
We need to open another hearing, though, public hearing just for this.
Yeah. King George County Board of Supervisors now hold a public hearing that has been properly advertised to receive public input regarding an amendment to the transient occupancy tax ordinance. I'll first ask the staff report, open the floor for public comments, and then bring it back to the board for consideration. Ms. Regina, you don't need to talk anymore? All right. Anyone in the public that would like to speak? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Bring it back to discussion to the board. None?
None.
I'll make a motion that the transient occupancy ordinance should be updated to include the wording that mandates the annual filing of attestation. Did I get that right? Document, if applicable.
Tangible.
You could just make a motion to approve the ordinance as present.
There you go.
I'm getting fancy. All right. Is that a motion?
Oh, do I need to restate the motion?
No, just a second.
Second.
Second. Motion properly second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Stroud.
Aye.
Ms. Bender.
Aye.
Ms. Collins. Mr. Sullins.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Next up, we have presentation, Tri-County City Soil and Water Conservation. Madison Morgan. How are you, Madison?
Doing good, doing good. How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Awesome. Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Hope you guys all had a great Thanksgiving. So I'm Madison Morgan with Tri-County City Soil and Water Conservation District, here talking to you guys about our FY25 annual report. So this report runs July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. And if you're not familiar with the district, and members of the public that might not be, so we are a kind of sort of NGO, local nonprofit, political subdivision of the state government. Lots of fancy words. We cover King George, Stafford, Spotsylvania, and the city of Fredericksburg to help citizens on non-point source pollution, water quality, and through that, we administer this through technical assistance through agricultural practices. So I'll go ahead and get into this here. Next slide, please. Thank you. So about the district, our mission is to provide leadership, education, financial assistance, and technical programs to both rural and urban communities to improve soil and water conservation. Our vision, we work with our communities and partners to promote awareness and inspire the conservation of natural resources through integrated approaches to improve soil and water health. Next slide, please. Board of Directors. So this finished out last fiscal year. I'm happy to report. I know I came and spoke to you guys back in the summertime about a vacancy for our board. So for King George County, we have Janet Gill Harris, and filling the open role is Arn Eliason. And we're happy to have him on board. Staff-wise, super happy to report for the first time since around COVID, we're fully staffed. So our big handy team of 6. Renee Davis is our district manager. Christine McLean is our administrative professional. Our conservation team is Ginny Greenlaw, Jerry Rao, and Teresa Bradford. Jerry Rao has recently been promoted to assistant district manager, so he's a great resource to have in the office. And then I round out with education and outreach. Next slide, please. Budget. So operating revenues, of course, our biggest revenue coming in is going to be the DCR VAX funds. So the Virginia Agricultural Cost Share Program funds, that's over $1.4 million coming in from revenues, with total operations revenues over $2.2 million. Next slide. Oh, thank you. Operating expenses, similar to our revenues, our biggest expense is the VAX fund. So what we're bringing in, we're doing our best to get out, followed by payroll, regular operations. Thank you. So the Virginia Agricultural Cost Share Program, our biggest program across the district is going to be the cover crop program. So about $1.1 million just in the cover crop program. We totaled over $1.2 million last year. So when I go into schools, if not everybody's familiar with cover crop program or what cover crops are, when I go into schools, I like to say if we wiggle around our fingers, that's topsoil. When come in with our roots, put roots in the topsoil, it's a little bit harder to move around. So that's going to be our biggest one across the district. Next slide, please. In King George County, payout for the VAX program was $463,244.64. Across the district, there were over 13,000 acres of cover crops being planted, which is it's a over 3,000 acre increase from last fiscal year. And then, of course, cost share, the 1.2 million. That's going to be an increase as well from FY24. FY24 had 953,000. So we're looking to continue, despite development and the loss of farmland, we're continuing being able to get money out the door, which is great. The Virginia Conservation Assistance Program, or VCAP, this is our urban cost share program. We didn't have any completed practices in King George this past year, but I do know that we have some that are in the process of being approved currently. So VCAP, our biggest payout was with permeable pavers. Then we had a living shoreline and rainwater harvesting system as well. We completed a few spot checks for King George County involving a rainwater cistern over in Presidential Lakes. And that fun fact about the VCAP program, it's actually gained in so much popularity. We're currently on a wait list, and that happened back in August. So within 2 months of this fiscal year, FY26, the state's actually on a pause from VCAP funding. So it's a program that's definitely being taken advantage of. So VCAP by locality, again, no completed practices for King George County in FY25. Stafford and the city of Fredericksburg had the permeable pavement, living shoreline, and rainwater harvesting system. So education and outreach for King George County, we had 12 programs with over almost 600 participants. This was a huge increase from the previous year. And in just a minute, I'll get into some of those, kind of what those numbers consisted of. So more so in education, we awarded a $550 scholarship to a high school student to attend youth conservation camp. We actually approved for 3 students to go, only 1 was eligible. So again, we're continuing on with that and hoping to increase stewardship and conservation interest within the youth in our area. In total, 57 educators were hosted in professional development sessions. 3 of those were King George educators. 885 students were taught through different career days or career resources. This was both, most notably, I think, in my opinion, definitely going, helping Miss Rinko out doing the reverse career days. Those are awesome. I'm very glad to take part of those with the high school, and then working with the middle school for their career clusters classes. So our partners in conservation, I won't go through all of them, but obviously the Virginia Association of Soil and Water Districts, our federal counterparts, Department of Conservation and Recreation, all of our counties and local organizations. So we're very happy to continue partnering with them and administering all of our practices across the district. What's next for us? I know we talked briefly about the increase from FY24 to FY25. We're not quite through December of FY26, and we've already surpassed that 1.2 million within the VAX program. And that's in part by having a whole farm approach program where this is the first year we're participating, taking nutrient management practices and cover crop programs and kind of tying them together and increasing the payout for our producers. So we've had great success in producers taking into that program for the first year. As far as outreach goes, we are continuing. We've been asked for a lot of volunteer opportunities as well, so we're looking forward to continue touching on them, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Morgan. Ms. Morgan, did anyone have any questions?
Mr. Davis, I just want to make a comment because you earlier talked about those coming back and serving in our community. Madison Morgan is a class of 2018 graduate, so I'd like seeing her come out. She's somebody who's now giving back to our community as a King George High School graduate, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else? Thank you, Madison. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Oh, I do have like a complete like paper report of this. If you guys would like to have it, can I bring it to you, Miss Jackie, and then pass it out? Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Next up, we have action item 12-13, award of construction service agreement for King George High School synthetic turf install. Mr. Austin Wessel.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may interject something before Mr. Wessel gets up there. So I know this was presented to the Board of Supervisors at your November 18th meeting when we were over in the Citizen Center. At that particular meeting, there was some questions on the whereabouts of Dr. Boyd. So I want to let Dr. Boyd know I apologize. He did tell me earlier that week that he had another conflict, and I had that total recall moment later on that night and next morning. So I do want to apologize to Dr. Boyd and let the board know that he did let me know. Just forgot to pass it on to the board. So just want to get that record clear. Thank you.
Mr. Boyd, do you accept his apology? All right, everything seems good then.
Good evening. We're just working on getting the right presentation up. That's like a supplemental.
I have a question while we're waiting.
Okay.
That I'm sure somebody here could probably answer, but why synthetic over natural?
So we have an existing synthetic turf field, which was back in 2014. I was not around for that. So the amount of work that would have to be put through to revert it back to grass would not be very cost effective, and it can usually take a lot more upkeep to revert back to. Kind of the conversation was always replacing the synthetic turf.
Okay, but I don't.
Okay. It's a lot of questions a lot of people had when they initially put it in. Most back in 2014, people didn't want it. They wanted to continue using the pit, but they went that direction.
And I'll interject that the county actually made a bunch of money when nobody else had a turf in the area, hosting when like a regional field hockey tournament for the Commonwealth District. We made money and then everybody got a turf field. But that was very, as Mr. Davis said, that was very controversial back then. I mean, I wanted to keep the pit, just update it, but the athletic director at the time made that decision to do the synthetic.
So the decision not to use a pit was so they could have a synthetic turf?
Well, they wanted a new stadium that they could use to hold state championship football games and hockey games, all those things. And that's why, and we were the first, back in the first,
2012.
yeah, in 2012, 2014, the first people to have one in the district. So it did get utilized a lot. I remember Fredericksburg Christian played their championship game down here and things like that. So that's why it was done that way, to my understanding. Y'all ready?
Yep.
All right, let's go.
All right. Good evening, members of chairman and members of the Board of Supervisors. I'm Austin Wessel, procurement specialist. You all know Dr. Jesse Boyd, and this is Reggie Quay with Hellas Construction. The existing field was installed by Field Turf. It's a monofilament fiber infill system. It had a 10-year, I believe, prorated warranty that has since expired, and the completion date was listed as 2012. The expected lifespan of an infill turf field is 8 to 10 years, depending on use. And so we've gotten, almost 15 years out of it. So these are just some examples of the different fiber types. So the first one is monofilament fiber. The pivot system, which is what we're presenting, is a hybrid monofilament system. It's also got a shock pad, so there's no infill, there's no granular rubber or sand. And then the third picture is a picture of that thatch, which I believe we also have samples if.
Yeah.
And so those are samples of the pivot turf system. The pivot turf is manufactured by 10K, who owns Hellas. So they're the actual direct manufacturer of the product. It's a blended fiber, like I said. It's a monofilament, and then also the thatch, you can feel kind of how thick it is. It's got a shock pad, and then the subsurface layer, I believe, reduces temperatures by 20, I believe, around 20 degrees. So good for summer activities. The pivot system also has a 12-year manufacturer warranty, and the expected lifespan is 10 to 15 years, again, dependent on use. But it does seem to be a much more durable product. The maintenance on a pivot system is drastically reduced because there is no infill, the granule rubber or the sand mixture. It doesn't require any regular grooming, sweeping, maintenance. Hellas is going to include a toe behind lawn roller that'll recompact the thatch, but it doesn't have to be performed on a weekly, semi-weekly basis. Let's see here. So the procurement process was, we released the RFP, we received 4 responses. We all took about a week and a half, evaluated them, called in the top 2 high scored, interviewed both of them, and then Hellas was chosen. Let's see here. This is just a quick note on funding and budget. It was approved on the April 1st board meeting as part of the CIP budget. $866,109 was approved for expected project cost. The Hellas cost proposal for the pivot system with the new nailer board and the alternating green panels comes in at $809,560. So it's we're $56,000 under budget currently. These are just a quick timeline based on the contract documents. We had the initial board meeting, November 17th, which Ms. Cobb presented for me. And then we're here today for the second one. The contract execution, the PO, and then allowing Hellas to order the material will happen by the end of this week, if it is approved. And then there's a 30-day lead time to ordering supplies. Again, 10K, who owns Hellas, is the manufacturer of it, so there shouldn't be any delays in that. And then the construction contract period, and that covers removal, laser grading, installation, final completion is 70 days. And then that should hit right around the start of the spring semester. Again, like pursuing on weather. And then there's some questions from the previous one. The maintenance plan, as I said, the pivot system is more durable. It's supposed to act and feel more like natural grass. You don't need to perform any regular maintenance of sweeping, grooming, infill replacement. The shock pad is what you're using for that cushion. The existing aggregate base exclusion, which I believe Mr. Stroud had questions on. So they're going to visually inspect the subgrade, and then they're also going to laser grade it to the existing. I believe it's 1%. There hasn't been any noted drainage issues. Unfortunately, we don't know the condition of the rock until we remove the existing field. So that exclusion in their cost proposal was just because they haven't been able to inspect the subgrade, so they won't know if it needs remediation until that happens. Let's see here. Do you guys have any additional questions, either for me, Dr. Boyd, or Reggie?
Bender.
Yes, and I know Mr. Collins has some, but I'm going to ask specific questions about the turf. Number one, there's a lot of controversy, especially with artificial turf, with more injuries, concussions, and even some folks say a risk, a link to cancer. So could the representative speak on some of that? Like what makes your turf better than, the older turf? And I know turf has changed since the Astrodome in the 1960s, or St. Louis Cardinals Busch Stadium that I think they used to have temperature checks at over 140 degrees on it, you know what I mean, in the outfield. So what is different about yours?
First, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Like I said, my name is Reggie. I'm with Tenkata. Some of the things that set our product apart and the injuries, they're very noted across the industry. Every year, the NFLPA comes out and wants to ban turf, but continuously, we continue to earn the business of several NFL teams. So currently, we work with 14 out of the 32 NFL teams, and not even all the NFL teams play on turf. So to have that market share within such a high-profile sector speaks to our products. Specifically, Helix was one of our dominant products, and a bit of it is incorporated in the pivot. So traditional turf, the slit film, as it gets old, it starts to lay down. Once that product lays down, you can groom it, you can do whatever you want to it. It's never going to stand back up because that's not the design of the memory of it. So we designed a product that always stands upright. So over time, it doesn't just crumble. And then also the infill, the slippage, there's a lot of different reasons that lead to those injuries. But as far as our product, we've seen far less lower extremity injuries, specifically is what turf fields have been correlated to.
And what about, the cancer risk? Have you heard anything with your product? Because there are articles out there and studies that have imply a link to it.
Absolutely. In regards to that specific topic, I'm not an expert in that. The one thing I will say is that's mainly been attributed to the infill, the crumb rubber. A big push in a lot of different areas is to get away from crumb rubber. So Tenkata, our parent company, is actually based in Europe. In Europe, no matter where you go, you're not going to see a field with crumb rubber anywhere. They got away from that almost, I think, 8 years ago now. So they're a lot more advanced than us when it comes to the turf industry. And the pivot product is something that we've been using in Europe for almost the same amount of time, 8 years now, because they were at a point where they want no infill. Up north in Fairfax and a couple other districts we work with, they use an alternative infill, not crumb rubber. So we're at a point where a lot of districts are starting to move away from crumb rubber in totality. Montgomery County and Maryland, they've made a huge push to get rid of crumb rubber in all aspects of their turf projects. So that's kind of the main thing that a lot of people have attributed those risks to, and it's the infill.
All right, thank you.
Of course. And just to kind of touch a little bit in regards to the grass versus synthetic turf, I'm not sure if you guys keep up with the NFL, but Sunday Night Football, you watch the Commanders game. In Maryland, it's freezing. The sod that they recently put down has not had a time to adhere to the actual soil. The players were slipping to the point that the sod was actually coming apart. In our area, we're not at the mercy of great climate 24/7. So as the temperatures get cold, your field is not going to be in the same condition that it is typically throughout the year. And then the cost behind that is extremely expensive to maintain. So with a team like an NFL team still not being able to have perfect quality surface for their players to play on, and you can see how many slips there were in that game, that speaks to the value of having a synthetic turf product.
Mr. Collins.
So there's no Cialis for turf?
I don't believe so, sir.
So I won't be on the board in January, but I'll raise hell ass if there's a change order to this.
Yeah. So to speak a little bit on that as well, I've been with the company for almost 4 years now. All the projects that I've been a part of, I've had 2 projects that required a change order. And that was mainly because they actually had a failure in their sub base, which means we had to come in and do concrete stabilization because the actual soil underneath the stone base was failing. I've walked the field several times. I have not seen any inclinations of that, as well as the first thing we do as soon as we remove the existing turf is our team will proof roll it and then do a laser grade. So we know everything that we're walking into as soon as we get on site. But again, I've been on that site. I don't see any signs of us having to deal with something like that.
And my last question is, so the turf you take up, are you going to leave it there for the citizens to come get?
We'll bring it to your house if you want me to, but nah.
Will you really?
If you ask nicely, we might. So we're actually one of the only.
I'll be off in January.
A lot of times we'll speak with the schools because a portion of the turf that's removed, a lot of them want to use it in their batting cage. They want to use it in other areas within their athletic facilities. While our team is there, we always ask that just let us know where you want it placed. Because a lot of times we run into situations where a school says, hey, we want X amount, leave it here for us. Those rolls are heavy. So if you don't have any means to move it yourself or place it, it gets very difficult. And a lot of times it just gets left there for years. So our team is more than happy to help us place it into the batting cages. But for the most part, we haul it away. And then we're one of the only companies, if not the only company, that does recycle our product. So our turf, we're able to take it back to its raw material form, as well as it is manufactured in the U.S. as well.
So other than a batting cage, what could it be used for?
I mean, you could put a heck of a putting green in your backyard, but we'll have to talk.
I know. I already have my mind rolling on that stuff, but that's a different subject.
No,
but I'm talking about for the schools. What else could they use it for?
Anything that they genuinely need. Again, with used product and the age of it, it's really only beneficial for highway areas like batting cages, things that you're not trying to do upkeep with. If there are any football entrance areas that they want to use it for as the players are running out, there's a lot of different things that the athletic department will find needs for, and we'll just be there to help.
So the stuff you're taking up has those black granules?
Yes, sir. But what we're putting in does not. So traditional turf fields have about 42 to 46 ounces of turf built in per square foot. The product that you're seeing there has 100 ounces. So, I mean, you're more than doubling the amount of turf that's actually being built into our systems. And even with our traditional systems, when you speak of companies, there's no other company that can provide an infilled product as well as a non-infilled product to the same level that we can. And our infilled products, we still use 46 ounces while some companies use 42. So we always believe in having more turf is going to provide a more durable product. And for a field that's lasted you guys almost 15 years, this product is designed to last a lot longer.
Not any maintenance. I don't think they ever took care of it.
No, so with a traditional turf field, there's a lot of grooming, and the main maintenance, I go in a lot of times annually to certain schools, and our team will provide a decompaction of the rubber. So over time, the rubber hardens during the winter, during the summer, it moves. A lot of things happen. So and also a lot of companies use sand within their fields. So sand during the winter is going to harden. So we don't have to do any decompaction with this product, no. And then also you can have as many people use it and you won't have any issues. So renting it out, it opens the door for a lot more rental use.
So, Mr. Chairman, my next thing won't be for either one of these two.
Yes.
It's about the money.
Oh, I know. I know that's next.
Thank you, guys.
Hi, Dr.
It's my
Boyd.
turn.
Can I ask my question?
Absolutely.
So during this time looking at the turf field and my previous experience on the school board and what I was told about this turf account that apparently never existed. Last meeting, Miss Cobb said that there was a $400,000 turnover for this particular project already in our funds. So so I thought part of the activity fund was going to go towards this special account. And it didn't look like it's done that, but so I did FOIA last meeting and I asked for the activity fund accounts balances and how much spent and how much they brought in for 8 years. And so the whole activity accounts for the schools bring in a lot of money, but I'm talking about the high school specifically. So they bring in about a $1.2 million a year in their activity fund, generally averaging over the 8-year period. In the 8-year period, they, at the end of the cycle, they have $500,000 in the account continually year after year. So I would propose that we used $400,000 from the activity fund for the high school and the $400,000 from our rollover amount to fund this project.
So if I can provide some clarity to that, what you're referring to, so what you received, I think what all board members received is the overview of all of the activity funds for every single one of our schools, specifically the high schools, which you're concerned about. If you review that information within the high school, there's roughly 50 sub-accounts. Those accounts include the band account, they include the theater account. Those are usually larger accounts because there's a lot of in and out in those accounts. The athletics account is a large account there. Rentals, there's a number of accounts in there. The amount of money that you just referred to, that $500,000, includes all of those accounts. What you often see in those accounts is, as you've already mentioned, money in and money out. So if you take the athletic account, for example, athletics on an annual basis, I hope I don't offend anybody by saying this, but usually if you have a successful football team, your football program funds the athletic account for all activities, for all athletics. So the cost typically for an event, for any game, you're paying for security, sheriff's department, you're paying for referees, ticket takers, concessions. Football is the only sport that we have right now that covers the cost of that event and then also covers the cost for other events. So for example, a volleyball game, a basketball game, a field hockey game. We don't make enough money in ticket sales to cover the costs to run that event. So when we're talking about using that money for capital expenses, we really need to take into account not only that it's really just ticket sales. That's the money that fuels that account. The ticket sales that comes in also is the money that goes out to put on these events for our children.
Dr. Boyd, that's why at the high school, you have $1.2 million that comes in. So every year, there's still a balance of $500,000. So
across all accounts?
Across all accounts.
Not just athletics.
Okay, so I would suggest in the future that you take part of the activity money and put it in a true turf replacement account, as opposed to a shenanigan that never occurred. So I think that this time it would be prudent. I mean, if you spent $400,000 from the school's budget and $400,000 from our budget on this field, next year you'd still have $500,000 more than you brought in. It would be 1 year that you would only have $110,000 left in the high school account, but you still have in the middle school and the elementary schools, you still have $700,000. You know, so you have a total every year of about like 1.1 or 1.2 million carryover funds. in all the accounts?
For all 5 schools.
Right. So there's a couple things with that. One, some of that money needs to be invested to where it brings money back, because every year you have the same amount of money that you have left over. That's what I call it, left over.
So this is, I don't mean to interrupt.
Now-
this-
So
okay, go
now,
ahead.
so we can say all these things about, paying the ticket, the people in the sheriff's office and everything else. But the bottom line is, it boils down to that you still have $500,000 each year in the high school fund alone. So, I mean, I don't think there's any reason why we shouldn't do that if you want a new turf.
So again, I mean, this is over 50 sub-accounts. You're asking to take money from our theater department. You're asking to take money from our band. You're asking to take money from DECA. You're asking to...
You're not taking the money because you already are spending
and really, unlike...
$1.2 million on all those things combined, with a $500,000 left over. So you're not taking from anybody. You're still allocating all that money spent for all those things, uniforms, whatever, instruments, travel, jerseys, on and on and on. You still have plenty of money to do that. So you're not taking from anybody. You're simply spending a overage on a product that all the high school use. The band uses it. They use it for graduation sometimes.
Graduation is part of it. I would invite you to take a look at that document on maybe the second or third page where it breaks down those subcategories. You have it in front of you, I believe, where it says DECA, athletics, theater, band. Those are the ones I'm mentioning. There's 50 sub-accounts there. And if you want to get detailed in this request, then go down and let everybody know where we want to take that money from.
It was pretty simple. I said it now. I'm getting ready to say it for the 4th time. The balance of all the accounts, after you've already spent the $1.2 million on DECA, football, volleyball, everything else, drama, you still have $500,000 left over. So you're not taking it from any account. You're taking it from the activity account.
No.
Then why is it the activity account?
So if you look at that third page, you'll see that each one of those clubs and activities has an account balance. It's not a total account balance at the high school of $400,000, $500,000. What you'll see in the ADECA account is maybe a couple $1,000s or something where Ms. Strauss is raising money to take the students on a field trip. It's not that there's a lump sum of $400,000. That's what you're looking at, that's the total amount and all of the activity funds across the entire high school. So what you would be doing is tapping into each one of those sub-accounts and taking a certain percentage of their money to cover an athletic expense. And I mean, if I had to turn right now and tell all of my club sponsors that we're going to take a little bit of your money to cover a capital expenditure that was approved by the Board of Supervisors last year, that would be a real tough sell for me. And to be quite frank, I would honestly have to try to figure something else out because I wouldn't feel comfortable with that.
How are you taking money from anybody when you're already spending money on them? The $1.2 million you're already spending in all these things. You're not taking it. So at the end of the year, there's $500,000 left over. Why? I thought it was one team, one fight.
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
One team, one fight. That means we're all fighting for the same thing. We're all on the same team. So everybody at the high school should be on the same team. The Board of Supervisors and the school board should be on the same team.
I'm with that. I'm totally with that. But
this is the one team, one fight approach.
Mr. Sullins.
Sir, did I misunderstand? I thought in the opening of your presentation, you mentioned that the football team, they generate enough revenue that covers down a lot of the other expenses across the activity fund. Is that not the case?
So if you look at that document, you'll see an athletics subcategory there. Within that athletics subcategory, the revenue created in that category is ticket sales.
Uh-huh.
If you look at our athletics, the major contributor to ticket sales is football games. The money comes in most of the time through athletic sales football games, but the expenses for all of our athletic events, so this is some examples: security, ticket takers, referees, which is a huge expense. You know that. Those come out of all of our activities. We're paying a bill for soccer officials. We're paying a bill for referees for volleyball. The point I was making there was that football is the only sport that we have that raises revenue. All of our other sports tend to cost the school division money, if that makes sense.
Right. That's all the more reason I tend to agree with Mr. Collins that it should be okay to prorate this a little bit. I mean, if the money's there anyway, there's an excess amount. I get it. It's spread across 50 different, sub-accounts or whatever. Why can we not prorate that? Take a portion of that if it's going back to the football field, which generates a huge portion of that revenue anyway.
So what you're referring to is just the athletic line. So that's one of those 50 lines.
Okay.
So if following that philosophy along the athletic line, then take a look at that total balancing athletic line, which is, I think the ending balance there may be $80,000 after ticket sales come in and expenses go out year over year.
83,702.
83. Thank you. Yep. So you're talking about $80,000 that's in the athletic account at the end of the year. So it's not. I wouldn't feel comfortable.
No, I'm tracking now.
Okay.
I see what you're saying.
So $80,000.
Mr. Collins, real quick. I got to let some other people go too. Ms. Bender.
And I have some experience in this. Coaching in college, I do know most colleges, the football team and the basketball team do fund most of the other athletics. It's just the way it is. It has the bigger ticket draw. So depending on the college and school, that's where they get most of their income. Now, I know in the past, and I have personal experience in this, due to issues, and this was way in the past, way before your time, that other athletic funds were rated to pay for debts of other teams. And it was a very hard sell to tell my cross-country parents who had raised $3,000 that the $3,000 they had was now gone to pay the debts of another team. That was a lot to swallow for my very hardy parents. So I have personal experience. So I'm not for that, but I actually have a counter proposal that I thought of overnight. So I have heard over the years and over many years that many different teams, there was questions of how money was handled and that. So my proposal is to have, to approve the field, but have an audit, an outside independent audit of the activity fund by subcategory to basically see where the money goes and to have operations and procedures put in place that to assure that there's no shenanigans and it has to be done before you approve the budget next year. I think that's a fair, and it would calm a lot of people because over the years, I've heard a lot of people saying, I think this coach is doing this and this coach is doing that, and the money is not being handled right. And I think it would finally set the public straight and get what Mr. Collins wants and other people want to see, and it has to be done independently, an audit of those activity funds.
So I'm all in favor of more controls. I'll tell you that since 2017, and probably even before that, but as far back as we keep records, we have conducted third-party independent audits of our activity funds. We have those accounts, they're binders right now in our school activity, in our school finance officers' offices. We do this independent of the county. We follow the same standards that the county has. So every year in July, I think June or July, the county does the audit. The same company that comes in and does the county audit basically follows the trail of money through the county audit, does the school audit, and then we independently hire them outside of the county's audit, and we also do all of our activity funds. All of these schools bring all of their activity fund ledgers to King George High School, and for about a week in our conference room at the high school, we do the same audit to the same standard that the county and the school division does, and we can produce that for anyone that's interested in looking back at it. If you want to see it, or if you want to do it at a greater degree, then again, I'm in favor of any type of additional controls we want to put in place. I think what you're going to find when it comes to these type of funds is this is money for children, and as you've already mentioned, it's in accounts like DECA, it's in accounts like FBLA, it's club accounts. So you'll see money in, and then you'll see exactly what that money goes out for, whether it's field trips or new equipment or whatever it may be. We're certainly interested in being as transparent as we possibly can and continuing the processes we've employed or even making them greater for the community.
Mr. Chairman, so Dr. Boyer, when we talked about audit during the break, and I explained to you, you know, the county and the schools do audits that's required by the state, by the Department of Public Accounts. Those audits they're worthless, in my opinion. All they do is they make sure that you're following the financial procedures that you're supposed to, right? It's laid out by the Department of Public Accounts, right? That's the first thing it does. Then it takes a very few items and traces it all the way back. So it doesn't capture the real essence of what a real audit does. So they might take, let's say, 30 items. This was purchased. The money came in here. The money came out there. Check was written. It was signed by, la, 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 la. Those audits don't tell you nothing. The second thing is, so let's say the football team generates an extra $80,000 a year. Part of it should have been going into turf replacement. And we talk about the children, you know, the field is for the children, for God's sakes. It's not for anybody else. And the kids in DECA, the kids in the field hockey, all these other kids use the field too. And so it's not like you're taking away from children. I don't like that path you're going down.
So I'll speak to all three of those points. If how do I say this in a way that doesn't make it sound like something bad? If the audit that the county and the school division does is not up to par, and you would like us to do one that is more transparent or goes into greater detail, I'm happy to do that. We'll include that in our budget request. Now, I don't have any problem with your point about the field being for students. It is. It's for DECA. It's for every club that has been mentioned tonight. When we put this project into CIP and it worked its way through the meat grinder that the CIP is and it was approved, at no point along the way did I turn to my clubs and my activities and everyone and say, hey, when and if this gets approved, I'm coming for your money. So I would be hard pressed.
You're painting a public picture online for people to see that we're the bad guys. And I don't like that. I don't like that picture. Let's talk about real life. Real life is that every year, for the 19th time, there's a $500,000 extra money in the activity fund. So if you go back 8 years that you provided the records, there's at least 500. That's the high school, not including the other ones. So why wouldn't you want to invest in the children $400,000 for the school's half of the field? Why wouldn't you want to do that?
Okay, so I wouldn't want to do that because this was approved through a CIP process where this is a huge capital improvement process that was approved by the county and suggested by the school division, but it wasn't suggested by the school division that we would use money in existing club accounts to fund. If that would have been the agreement on the front end, then we would probably be having a different conversation right now, but we've approved this through the CIP process. And now that we're working towards approval in the 11th hour, you're asking me to turn to those that give extra time and effort, our teachers that are advisors for these clubs and organizations that they're raising money for. And you're asking me to look at them and say, hey, all of that money you've raised for all of the wonderful things you do for our students, I need to take that from you because what was approved 6 months ago is now going to be on your tab.
You're spinning the story. You still are spending $1.2 million at the high school for all these clubs, so you're not taking anything from them. The CIP you speak of that was approved, the CIP is a 5-year document. You have a elementary school in there. So the CIP is approved every year with things down the road. It doesn't mean they're going to be funded. doesn't mean they're going to be funded. Just because they're in there doesn't mean they're going to be funded. So
Correct.
what happens every year is the board picks what they can afford to pay for, what they can afford to pay for.
And this project was chosen.
Mr. Stroud, do you have anything you want to add?
The rollover.
Mr. Collins, real quick. Mr. Stroud hadn't had a chance to speak yet.
Finished.
Yes, sir. So I think I understand the challenge. And I think the way that, so Mr. Collins, it's kind of like a household. The husband and wife both work, they both bring money into an account, and the husband wants to buy a vehicle or a snowmobile, and the wife says, wait a second, you want to spend some part of my paycheck for that. So, whenever we already agreed that we were going to use the 401k or whatever, and that's kind of I think the way that that's being viewed. And then I also understand Mr. Collins' point in that, why is there a carryover every year? Why don't we spend some of that, being you, why don't spend some of that money? In other words, it's just in the way that it's being addressed, it's just sitting there. But I think that the money that is being carried over, so by all these sub accounts, is they're collecting money throughout the year. And so it's not like a regular budget, if you will, where, the budget is, you guys put it together, you submit it, we approve it, and you start over a new fiscal year. Well, the way these funds work, they work based on the schedule for whatever activity it is. It's based on the school year. It's based on these other things. So it doesn't fall into that regular cycle when these funds come into the account or when they go out. But it could appear that way because the budget is sitting there when the budget goes through, even though, so it makes it a bit challenging there. So I would like, not based on this, but I would like to see the summaries for the activity fund audits. At some time I can see those, but if these other sub accounts, have they received funding from, and I may have the terminology wrong, but from the athletic fund? Is the athletic fund, has these other accounts received money from the athletic fund?
Not likely. No. So these other accounts, and again, I don't have it in front of me. I believe you guys do. If you turn to that second or third, the cover page is just the summary page. Ms. Fish, they have that in front of them?
When I did the FOIA and got the return, it didn't have a summary page. But
okay.
So Dr. Boyd, let me just
if you wouldn't mind, if I could just answer Mr. Stroud's question.
Sure.
Yeah. So if you take a look at that third page, you'll see all of those subcategories for the high school. And I'll give you an example. So again, DECA is one of our programs that raises a decent amount of money. And you're spot on with, Mrs. Strauss raising money that sometimes carries over year to year just because of the events that she's doing and the timing of those events. There's 50 subcategories there probably, if you look at, and I haven't counted them, but they're probably in that ballpark. And the ending balance that was mentioned earlier is $83,000. So you're talking about, on average, $1,000 to $2,000 per sub account. So you're talking about the DECA program, the band program, or whatever, carrying over a relatively small amount of money from year over year. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I understood. The question regarding if they receive money from the athletic fund was setting up my next question, which was, does it go both ways? Which is what Mr. Collins was saying, is that take money from them to support athletic fund. So if they had been receiving money from athletic fund, then what's the issue with it going the opposite direction and the athletic fund receiving money from them? That's where.
So the answer is no. Usually, all the money that's going into the athletic fund is for our sports programs. The money that goes in is ticket sales for athletics. The money that goes out of athletics usually goes for the stuff I've mentioned before. Honestly, it's officials, security, ticket takers. I don't think concessions is part of that. And then really at the end of the year, what we try to do at the high school right now is have a 4-year new uniform rotation, so that one time, and Ms. Bender knows this, one time in high school, a student that participates for 4 years on an athletic program will receive a new uniform. So we cycle through a new uniform purchase one time in 4 years for each of our athletic programs. That money comes out of athletics. New balls, helmet and equipment conditioning, and those type of things come out of that athletic fund. The athletic fund, though, does not fuel into those other sub-accounts.
Okay, so the people who are I know we're kind of way off track from the turf issue. So my last question with that is, do the people who are managing those funds understand the scrutiny that you go through at this level?
Well, they say their prayers for me, I think.
Okay.
I say my prayers for you too.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think they have a general idea. And I can tell you that, through the audit process and really the financial secretaries at each particular school are very well versed in the appropriate checks and balances and things of that nature. So, we do strive very hard to make sure that everything is shenanigan free. And we attempt to do that to the best of our ability.
So Dr. Boyd, so you remember when you came to this board not too long ago, because the money that wasn't spent for the year, and so the board most of the time has taken the money back of unspent money, like from every other department in the county, and put it back in the general fund. So when you came this year, you asked for a lot of money back. And what did we do? We gave it to you.
Absolutely.
Right? One team, one fight.
Mm-hmm.
So now, me, hopefully them, is asking for $400,000 out of that activity fund for this field. We don't have an endless amount of money. The next one that's coming in front of us, down the road's coming in front of us, is this Motorola thing for $1.2 million a year. So, there's only so much money. And you will still replenish your fund next year. And you'll still have $110,000 left over this year. So anything that was going to occur, the $1.2 million, you talk about uniforms being, that's all in that. It's already, you're already spending that money. So I don't think I need to say any more.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
You done?
I am done. Thank you, sir.
I was going to make a motion, but go ahead, Ms. Bender.
I was going to make a motion too.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to award the of a construction services agreement for King George High School synthetic turf field installation for Hellas. Is that good enough, Mr. Stewart?
I'd like to make an amendment to the major motion.
Okay.
That the money, $400,000 comes out of the rollover money from that we have already put in that, and $400,000 from the activity fund. Well, I guess $460,000 from our account.
Mr. Chair, can I have a discussion on that?
Yes.
I'm just going to bring up a point because I understand these finances very well for coaching for many years, but I understand I'm just going to give an example, Mr. Collins, to the band and theater. People don't realize that they pay for their music, their choreography, and they raise money, and Miss Wines pays for scholarships for seniors. And so I just can't take from the people that raised money for specific reasons and now say to them, you don't get to give those scholarships, or because now we're going to take from that fund. As someone who experienced it, I can't do that.
Don't you understand that they're already doing that at the $1.2 million? They're not taking from anybody. This is just a shenanigans that's being placed in front of us. Look at the real truth of the matter.
And that's why I suggested another independent audit, Mr. Collins.
You're not taking anything from anybody.
Well, I disagree with you.
Bring it back in. I think what kind of help is that, they're raising money, the band's raising money for certain things, and this group's raising. I think that they need to get in line with a little bit of, there's other things they need to raise money for too. Right? So I think what's going to help in the long run and in future planning, and what probably should have gone all along, is a portion of that money should always go into some sort of sub-account that is directly towards the money maker that makes all of the money, which is this turf field. Okay? So yes, they're raising money for their certain things, and I don't want to take those things away from them, but maybe they should add to their fundraising list. Maybe it's, the football team goes out and sells mulch, and they've done stuff over the years, and they raise money for whatever uniforms and whatever else they want to do. And I think that holistically, I think that every department needs to understand what it costs, right? And exactly what their part is in that, and them using the field and whatever it is and all those things, and that the football team is making money and they're getting the benefits of all those things. And I think that there should be more. Does that make sense to you, as a joint venture, as far as them raising more money towards those things?
Yeah, so I don't mind helping and employing the school division and our students to help in any way that we think would benefit the county. I know this stems from a perceived conversation, or I'll tell you, the reason I say conversation is because we have attempted to comb minutes from school board meetings. We have attempted to find some type of reference to 2010, 2011 of a conversation, something formal that says the school division was going to set aside money to pay for this turf field. Now, I know that's a unique arrangement. There's probably no other arrangement in our county, in any other department, through the CIP process, where we're asking other employees, and most certainly not children, to raise money for a facility that they're using. However, looking through and back, I didn't find any place where that was mentioned. And I know here now we're talking about, I hope I can clearly articulate that I don't feel comfortable, and Ms. Bender said the same thing, in this 11th hour asking.
Mr. Boyd, you don't have to explain yourself anymore.
Okay.
Okay.
For the CIP,
what I'm saying is, we are where we are today.
Thank you.
So I've heard about the conversations here said to me, because I don't know, you don't know, you weren't superintendent at that point in time. I don't know. So I can't speak either way. And I'm not saying that I want you guys to say from now on, you're paying for the turf field. I'm saying that we as a county and those departments in the school, we need to start looking at 15 years from now.
What are we going to do?
We're going to need another one. But the way we do it, 20, because we're doing pretty good. I'm just saying that we need to start planning ahead and looking at what's going to in 15 years, and they're just 10%, 20% of certain funds go in, and making those groups and organizations, because I want them to do the things they need to do, the trips they need to take, the instruments they need to make. But I just wanted we need to start looking at that. That's all I'm saying to you. So I'm not looking for you to explain or bring up a conversation, my man. I don't know if it's there or not either. We can't find record of it. I'm not saying it is or it isn't.
So as far as this discussion is concerned, again, nobody's taking away anything. And two, maybe when you asked for the $1.62 million back, we should have said no. We're going to save it for the turf field or any other thing that you might want to do in the future. We're going to keep that money.
I think they used that money for a math program that we had to have.
They also made a bunch of people assistant principals that were special needs so they could make it easier on the those programs where they had to have those folks. So there was a
That's
lot of money.
that's a separate discussion though, right there. And
what I'm
if you
saying
want to
is
talk
we
about
gave money back.
for a math program.
No, it was more than a math program.
It was three things. It was a math program. It was money for like graduation and things of that nature. What was the third thing?
Which should be in the activity fund.
Should be, isn't. And again, I would go back. If and again, let's look at this moving forward. If there are CIP projects that we present in this process moving forward that you think are more appropriate for the school to fund, then I would kindly request that you let us know that on the front end, and we won't request it in the CIP.
Dr. Ford, you do not fund any CIP items. We do. You don't have the money.
There we go.
Your money comes from us.
Exactly.
So don't say it's, you fund it. We're funding it.
Thank you.
Okay.
And so when this was approved as a CIP project,
in the CIP,
it was approved to be funded by the county, and that's fine. But again, moving forward, if there are projects that I've placed, or if anyone has placed in the CIP on the school division's behalf that we think would more appropriately be funded by the school division because we're going to save money in some particular way, then I would be totally comfortable with that conversation on the front end. What we're doing right now is we've approved a project through the CIP, and now turning around and saying school activity funds, school activity advisors who are raising funds, would you mind paying for this? And that's the only part of this that I'm uncomfortable with.
So it's the whole one team, one fight you're not getting. So when they wanted to do an energy management program, who paid for it? Who paid for it? The county paid for it, right? The county paid $2.5 million for this energy management. What did it do? It fixed windows in the school that hadn't been fixed, and all these other things.
I know it's already on the CIP. Why put it on the CIP if you're going to pay for it yourself? I understand.
In these days and times with the funding issues that we have and will have, I mean, you saw last meeting where all these folks from the different departments came and asked for a lot of money.
Yeah.
And the sheriff's getting ready to, he wants $1.2 million. So, I mean, I think
we'll talk to that when we
Mr.
get
Chair?
one team, one fight, aren't you, Sheriff?
Ms. Bender?
Yeah, I'd like to remake that motion again and recommend an action properly. I make a motion to authorize the Board of Supervisors to execute a construction services agreement with Hellas for the installation of their pivot system priced at $809,000 and $560,000.
Second. I would like to make a
motion properly second.
I'd like to make an amendment to the motion.
She doesn't, I don't want to make an.
I'm not interested in that amendment.
Make an amendment to an motion. Look at your county attorney.
He gets a Senate. I was just going to point at that. I think Mrs. Bender withdrew her original motion.
Yes.
Then there wouldn't be an amendment on that. But Mr. Collins, if he can get a second, can offer an amendment on this one if he'd like.
And my amendment is still the same. $460,000 from the general fund and $400,000 from the school activity fund.
All right, so no second on that one. Motion fails. So we still have a second on Ms. Bender's.
Fails for the second.
Try it.
That should be roll call.
I understand that. Is there any further discussion?
Start your roll call at the other end.
Roll call, Mr. Collins.
I'm going to wait for my vote.
Mr. Stroud.
Aye.
Ms. Bender.
Aye.
Mr. Collins.
Nay.
Mr. Sullins.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Boyd, for your patience. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Chair.
All right, next up, 12-14. Miss Robin, please don't be scared to come up here. You're going to be just fine. I think so anyway.
Good evening. I am Robin Tenney. I'm the Smoot Library Director. And as it states on the board report, I am requesting a carryover of the remaining FY 24-25 state aid grant funding. And without the carryover, the state through the Library of Virginia will take that amount from this fiscal year. So it would result in an additional $1,676 loss in state aid funding.
Mr. Chair,
Mrs. Stroud.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the carryover for $1,676 remaining FY 24-25 library state and grant funding to FY 25-26.
Second.
Motion properly seconded. Further discussion. By roll call, Mr. Stroud.
Aye.
Ms. Bender.
Aye.
Mr. Collins.
Aye. Can you give 1,000 to the school turf fund?
Mr. Sullins.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. See how easy that was? Thank you. All right, now the big daddy. 1215 Motorola. 2026-2032 multi-year maintenance and SUA2 agreement.
Mr. Chairman, I can give I can start the conversation if that's okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. So as outlined in your staff report, the new radio system that is operated by our Sheriff's Department, the schools, and Fire Rescue Emergency Services, it's a shared system that is currently in the 1-year warranty period. That will expire February 28 of 2026. So this was done before my time. I understand this was a several-year process to upgrade the radio system for ample communications amongst those 3 agencies that I talked about. So what you have before you is a proposal that was dated October 27, 2025, offering a multi-year maintenance and system upgrade agreement to support the radio system. So there are a couple figures laid out in here. It's a 6-year, 4-month agreement, $6,540,000. And Motorola Solutions is offering a $99,996 discount for executing the contract by December 31, not December 15, as stated in the staff report. So you do. I'm saying that because there is still a second meeting in December. No pressure is put on the board tonight to act on this. I know we talked about this at our board retreat for the budget, FY27 budget. That's when it was first brought up. I've been talking with the sheriff actually before that about the couple of months remaining in this the existing fiscal year, and reaching out to Motorola the remaining several months here in fiscal year 26. We're just going to roll those into the FY27 budget at no additional cost, so we don't have to go back through and amend anything in the current fiscal year budget. We do have representatives from Motorola in the back. The sheriff is here also to answer any questions from the board.
Anyone have any questions?
Yes. Has there been any further negotiations for Motorola to sharpen their pencil?
Sheriff Giles.
Mr. Collins, when it was initially brought up, we did a huge amount of negotiations with them to get them to where we are right now. And then that's about where this is their final offer. And, but we did negotiate with them prior to, and was able to bring it down and get it to where we are now.
Mr. Sullins?
Sheriff, is this, from what you can tell, is this a fairly standard contract that, a fairly standard service contract that would go with owning a system like this?
Yes, sir.
In other words, it's just, if you can own it, you can afford to maintain it?
Yes, sir. Several jurisdictions around us have basically the same maintenance contract with the same type of system that we have.
Mr. Stroud, do you have any questions concerning the Motorola contract?
So
I don't really have any questions. My comments are that I feel like we're paying too much. And I know that A lot of other counties and use the same system. I know that Motorola pretty much owns the market. And that, we're in a position now where we feel, I feel like we're stuck. And, but the fees that are charged on these type contracts and this type work are usually pretty high. So we have no way of knowing what that is, but they're usually pretty high. So I feel like Motorola could provide a better discount on this. Doesn't mean they will, but I feel like they could, and I would appreciate it if they would. But that's about the extent of my comments, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Collins.
So, Sheriff, as we discussed at last meeting, when this radio system was proposed, Motorola never mentioned anything about $1.2 million a year. So they said it was under warranty for a year, but there was never mention about a service contract. So I think that they pulled the wool over our eyes in more ways than one. So the state system that Motorola runs now, the STAR system, has been a complete disaster. Motorola, can you hear me? You've cost the state a lot of money, and their product is not good. So I'm not real happy about this. I feel like that the sheriff, you're being held hostage for this, along with us for this contract. Thank you.
Stones. Nothing. Ms. Bender.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Collins.
So could we delay this till the next meeting? Maybe Mr. Smolnick, Mr. Stewart, Motorola could get together and maybe Motorola could sharpen their pencil a bit. If not, you'll still have the same thing when you come back.
Sounds all right. Is that okay with everyone on the board?
It's good by me, sir.
All right. Move it to the next one then. Thank you, Sheriff.
Sheriff, of course, I hope you're involved with that too, with them.
Absolutely.
I didn't mean to leave you out of that.
No, I understand. No.
Ms. Cook. We have discussion item 12-16, propane tank removal installation, IFB.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Well, I'm here to discuss the propane tank removal and installation IFB that was issued on October 20th. We received one bid for $147,312.15. The breakdown of the bid is $58,878.55 for the county propane tank replacement, $88,433.60 for service authority. Not included in this total is a $299.99 per tank removal fee by AmeriGas. AmeriGas leasing fees for the FY 24-25 were $3,781. The county has 5 lease tank. The county has 5 lease tanks, and the service authority has 13. The ROI based on the total base bid price is approximately 35 to 40 years. This slide provides a breakdown of propane usage. Propane demand is highest during the winter months. However, emergency generations require year-round readiness and are filled as needed. The county used 15,633 gallons in FY 24-25 with the average price per gallon of $3.68. for a total cost of approximately $49,699. And these were a few questions that I asked of our AmeriGas representative, just trying to get an idea of what the leasing price includes. So the first question was, do lease tanks receive annual inspections or testing? And they test each tank before it is filled. What maintenance does AmeriGas handle as part of the lease? AmeriGas is responsible for all upkeep and maintenance and no cost to the customer and all company-owned tanks. Final question I asked was, does AmeriGas track tank age or replace tanks when they reach end-of-life service? They record the manufacturer date and serial numbers on all tanks, which is noted on the equipment record for each account. Recertification is not required on larger bulk tanks, such as 500 or 1,000-gallon units, but if they are found to be faulty or compromised in any way during the pre-fill inspection, they are replaced or repaired. And bulk tanks do not have an expiration date that requires recertification by Department of Transportation. Some additional questions I asked that had not been answered by the time I prepared and submitted this to Ms. Fish. Why is there such a vast price per gallon for some tank refills? One of the examples that I provided was on September 15th, price per gallon was $3.30. On September 22nd, the price was $6.25. I also asked if we could negotiate rates annually, and I'm waiting to hear back on that. Our AmeriGas representative is looking into the bulk pricing of our accounts. The way the accounts were set up looks like as though they were not linked, and pricing has been based on individual accounts instead of grouped together for the county.
Thanks for the report there. So looking at slide 3, the annual leasing fee, is that total? That's all we pay for all the things that we lease from them?
For FY 24-25, yes. There have been tanks added since FY 24-25, so that number will go up a little bit.
That number seems relatively low. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer that we should be just leasing all of them if they're going to repair, replace, fix, whatever, any problems. And that's...
The majority of the tanks that we lease are $187.95 per year.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of maintenance and upkeep on a tank. I mean, they don't like fix the rust on them. So there's not a lot of maintenance upkeep. But the key thing here is we're moving away from this company. So this is just an informative brief, but they've been ripping us off for a while, and
Amen.
We'll continue to do so. So this is just what we have to do to get away from them and move to greener pastures.
How have they been ripping us off? And I'm not trying to be argumentative. I want to understand.
$6.25 a gallon.
Yeah. So it changed $3 in a few days. And the thing is so if we allow them to fill the tanks on their schedule and they get to pick when it's higher and when it's lower, then we lose. But it's kind of like it's their MO. There are better options out there.
Okay. The reason the lease fees are so low is because they're making up the money in other ways.
The lease fees aren't low.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that low. You just have to compare them to other companies. And then also, so there are options that we talked about before. I mean, not necessarily a part of this, but I think as we, one of the things we move forward and, Ms. Cook or they come with the new proposals is whether we, buy or lease. So the thing is, you can say, well, why do we want to buy whenever we can lease at that cost? And that's a fair question. The key thing that buying does is it allows you the choice of who you use to fill it. Okay. So it's just like the Motorola conversation is we're using Motorola stuff. So we have to buy their warranty. We have to buy their maintenance plan and yada, yada. If we own the tank, then they can't tell us, well, it's our tank and you can't put anybody else's, propane in it. That's what it does for us. So If we own it, then we can choose who we want. And they're going to say, well, they have to get inspected, yada, yada, yada. So big deal. Just so I don't have to deal with you anymore, I'll do it.
AmeriGas is very problematic. I've had some personal things with them, and they're just. I called down there one time to AmeriGas, and they told me that the employee that answered the phone in Richmond said they don't really like working there anyhow because the company's so bad. That's an employee speaking. That's what I heard. That's what they told me. So $2.99 for removal of the tanks, what does that include? Are they going to pay us back for the gas? Are they going to give us a credit for the gas? And how much are they going to give us the credit for the gas that we already have in the tank?
They can
$6?
They can recapture the gas, but I don't know how much they're going to pay us for price per gallon.
So if they paid us $6.25, that's what our gas is worth to them. And then we charge them $2.90. They're going to charge us $2.99 to pick up a tank and put it on a truck.
That's correct, for each tank.
So, and their inspection, when they talk about they test it every time, it's not a test. They come out, they look, make sure everything, that there's a regulator on there. There's, they just do a visual, like you do a visual of everything in your own house. I'm not talking at you, Mr. Cook. I'm talking in general. So they don't actually do the testing. That's nonsense. And the tank can last many, many years. You'll have tanks in the ground for 25, 30 years. By AmeriGas, and they're never taken out of the ground. They're never serviced. They open up the top, they look at it, they fill it up.
I don't know if it's feasible, but maybe we look at whoever we go to and see if they can capture the fuel and transfer it to their tank that we go to maybe.
They can't. That was a question that was asked during our pre-bid meeting.
They can't because AmeriGas won't allow them, or
because once AmeriGas comes to remove the tank.
Mr. Smolnick, you had something to add?
It's not their gas. It's our gas.
And they can refund us for the gas, but I don't know the price that they will refund per gallon.
Well, they'll also charge you a bunch of money to do that process.
Yeah, it will charge you. Mr. Chairman, there is a law that I'm aware of because I've been working on legislation in this arena because of how some of these gas companies are conducting business. You can't touch another person's tank. You can't take, even though you paid for the gas, you can't put or take gas out of that tank if another company owns it. And there seems to be a history where if you have that particular company like AmeriGas take the gas out of the tank, they may not be willing to refund you for that unless you start another account.
And Mr. Smolnick, you had something to add?
So I just wanted to kind of pull back out. So again, this RFP was issued at the request of the board to get away from the reliance on one company. So this is step one, but we wanted to bring it for the board, for the 147,000 some change, it to proceed forward. The next step would be once if the board wants to move ahead with $147,000 to remove the tanks, then we would issue another RFP to go out there to shop around for the best price to fill the tanks. And, in that situation, whenever I do contracts, I don't like to lock into long terms, similar to like an engineering service, as a 1 year with several options to renew it at our discretion. Give us the ability to shop around. Again, this is the first step. So really the board needs to think about whenever you buy in bulk, whenever you shop around, you are going to get one price, and it would be at a discounted rate for what we're paying now. You have to ask yourself, what's the payback? How many years is that $147,000 going to be paid back in the savings that we're going to be spending on propane?
All right.
So I would say that would be considerable in short term because of the amount of money that we're paying for the fuel itself. I mean, there's some people that I know in this room that pay $1 or 75 cents a gallon. And so, and that particular user we use more fuel than they do. So also, the 147 bid was for the tanks.
Yes, that was for installation. That's for the tank and the installation of the tank.
Where are the tanks coming from?
That I do not
What's
know.
the company's name?
I didn't bring that with me. But it's the only bid that we received.
Okay. So we could, if that bid was more than you all wanted to spend, you could probably, they sell the tanks in Richmond. They're certified tanks. Same thing. And you could buy the tanks. I don't know if it's cheaper. I would think so if it's a bulk amount, buying tanks.
If we looked at, talk with AmeriGas, ask if we could just buy these tanks instead of paying them to take them away and then lose money on selling the gas back to them.
I can ask.
How much would it cost to just?
So I think that, Mr. Smolnick, is this correct? They'll sell us the tanks for $6,000 a piece? Wasn't that correct? Didn't you show me $6,000 they'll sell it back to us?
To buy AmeriGas's tanks.
Yeah, just buy them, leave them in place, buy them from them and not have to worry about installation or removal or any of that other crap.
I don't recall that figure.
So my tank, they wanted to charge me $3,000 to buy it. And
we need to shop it. We need, that's something we can, whenever we look at it, just kind of shop it around. But we need to run those tanks empty before we have them replaced. And they're responsible for removing it.
So I've been in a war.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I told them that, I'll dig it up for them and leave it out in front of the property and then come pick it up. So they're a frustrating company to deal with, but that's something that we'll deal with whenever we start, getting bids and stuff on them. Because the other thing that they can do is that whoever we deal with, the new company, they may just go to AmeriGas and buy the tank from them, because that does happen as well. I've had that happen before. So.
These are new tanks. So the tanks that they will be installing are tanks that he has in his stock now. I do know that. That's part of his inventory. And those will be.
By who?
I did not bring the, well, yes, I did. Hold on. I'm sorry. It's called Elite Power Incorporation. They're based out of Delaplane, Virginia.
That's one of the companies.
That's the only bid I received.
For the tanks.
For the tank installation.
That's just the tank installation?
Yes.
So that whenever we put it out for bid, it didn't include like propane that we were.
This bid includes one fill, but beyond that, service will come from a different company.
But I'm not. So because for the companies, for some companies to bid on it, they want that continuing service, and where we may get a better option or maybe a better price if they know, hey, we're selling a tank, but with that, they're going to buy propane from me as well. I mean, so I don't know, because honestly I should have, and I didn't read the RFP, so I don't know if it was maybe the way you put out that we only got one bid, because we should have gotten more bids on that.
So Mr. Stroud, so you said that it includes one fill of each of these tanks?
Correct.
So that makes it much more palatable, because, I'm sure you've filled tanks lately.
Yeah, but I
just say that'd be half the money right there. There's how many? 48 tanks?
There are.
Use 15,633 gallons. How much do you?
There are 27 tanks in total.
27.
We added a couple since this fiscal year started, though.
Yes.
So there's more than 27.
I think it went up by 2, and those were the service sorting.
We don't have any decision tonight, though, right? Is there a decision?
There's
no decision. It's just informative.
we're looking for direction. You know, if well, ultimately we will need to make a decision. We only got one proposal, so the board needs to decide, is it worth it? And then that will give, you know, yes, we're going to award this contract in 147 to move forward. And then that will give staff the direction to draft the other RFP for once that first refill runs out, how, you know, who we're going to use to fill the tanks up thereafter.
I got a quick question. Kim, for the service authority, they're all ones that are probably attached to generators, right, that we're mandated to have?
Yes, they're, so if the power goes out, the pump station doesn't fail.
Right, and those two new tanks, I'm guessing, were some of the 5 we have left, the consent orders. We had to have generators, and because one of them's probably the Burger King pump station.
Yes, one was Burger King and the other one was Pump Station 6, Potomac Avenue.
They were required for consent order.
So, Ms. Bender, having the tank and having it for the propane generator, the generator goes through a test every week, so it's not like it just sits there with propane in it.
No, I was just verifying so people knew why the 2 extra tanks, we had to put them in by consent order.
So it seems a little more palatable than 147, Mr. Stroud, if it's all of them are being filled.
It does, but I'm just not, I don't know. And I don't know if some of the companies saw it, and we may need to put it back out for bid also. And I'll make it a point to try to come and get with you to review that, but the RFP, but do you know the sizes of the tanks? Like, are there any of them that are like a couple hundred gallons or 300-gallon tanks?
They're, let's see.
Pretty big tanks.
The majority of the ones for Service Authority are 325 gallons. They have a few that are 500. And then
I'm thinking some of the locations are probably smaller tanks.
they're the 325 gallon. And then we have 4,000 gallon tanks for the county and a few 325 gallon tanks. And those are for cell towers.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Hmm?
So, Mr. Chairman, what's the will of the board?
What's your will?
Well, my will is probably the same as Mr. Strauss' will.
You say move forward?
Is that what you say, Mr. Stroud?
Yes, sir.
That's what I say.
If you would like to move forward, I will have to come back to the next meeting with both of the amounts broken out and where our funding source will come from.
Absolutely.
From the activity fund.
Okay. Is that good? Like, any response from anyone else? Thank you, Ms. Cook.
Okay. You're welcome.
Matthew Smolnick, you're up. County Administrative Report.
All right, thank you, sir. I do have a couple things. Just want to remind everybody, Sunday, December 7th, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. outside, the Christmas tree lighting. So great ceremony. Hope to see everybody out there. Looking at the weather, I think we're going to be okay. It'll be brisk, but only a 5% chance of precipitation is what I saw earlier today. So a legislative update. So talking to Senator Stewart and Hillary Pugh Kent. So what we did last year, I reached out to the board members, and you all sent me items that were of some concerns to you that both our senator and our delegate you asked to take to Richmond for the next General Assembly session. So I think the format worked out quite well last year. So I'll remind you, it was just and I can do it tomorrow morning. Send you all an email. You guys send me the topics that you want. I compile them, and I'll include them in the next December meeting so that we can discuss it. And I believe last year you voted to move all the items. I think there may be 7 or 8 of them onto our representatives for the General Assembly. And then after you guys give those your initial blessing, Ms. Fisher works to get those out on official letterhead with my signature to all our representatives. So if that's good with the board, look for an email from me tomorrow. And if you have any questions on legislative priorities, you can talk to me, but I will just bring the entire list. We'll include that in the packet for the public to see. Some good opportunities to talk to your constituents to see what's important to them, and we'll have a discussion at the second December meeting. We do have an orientation scheduled for Mr. Metz Monday, December 8th. Looking forward to that, along with a swearing-in ceremony at 4:30 to conclude that day. So, staff has worked hard to get everything ready for him, so I'm excited about that. I did want to give the board an update on the elevator RFP. So if you can recall, the elevators out here in the administration building, we got one proposal. The board directed staff to put out an RFP, which we did. In that RFP, there was a mandatory meeting to come to learn about what the RFP entailed. We held 2 different sessions for the RFP. It was yesterday, one at, I think it was 10 o'clock, one at 2 o'clock. We had 0 people show up. So since it was a mandatory RFP, essentially procurement is dead. However, we can issue an addendum through EVA to say, hey, the meeting is now non-mandatory. We can keep it open. I think it's till the December 13th or 18th. I'll pull it up here. I got the email from Mr. Wessel. But if we do issue the addendum to say that the meeting is non-mandatory, we can still keep it open until, and I'm pulling up the date here, December 18th. And hopefully we will get some responses back to this. In the event that we do not get any responses back, again, the procurement process has played itself out, then we would reach out to, I would presume the, Schindler and Otis are the larger ones that we know of. Reach out to them. If go to Otis, does your initial number still work, or knowing that they're, competing with Schindler, can they get a better price for us? So I just want to give the board an update. I was hoping to see some folks show up, but unfortunately we didn't have anybody respond to the RFP that was put out. And that's really, we have the barking dogs. I want to turn it over to Senator Stewart, unless there's any questions on the topics that I've discussed before Senator Stewart takes the floor.
I got a quick pass out here. Mr. Chairman, I've got a memo from the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office, and I've got 2 examples for you all.
Ms. Cook?
Potential ordinances. So you can think about it and discuss it. I did that because Commonwealth's Attorney's Office would actually be the one
I'll get with you tomorrow.
prosecuting.
Thank you, sorry.
All right.
Mr. Chair,
Stroud.
may I make a comment while County Attorney's handing that out?
Sure.
So I think it'd be good for us to look at and I'll get with Ms. Cook tomorrow on it, but we look at the amount of fuel that's used in the tanks to determine the size, because I'm not sure that the size tanks we have, we may have a much larger tank than we actually need if they're being used for backup generators, because the companies monitor them, and if it gets so low, they'll come and fill it. So you don't need a 300-gallon tank if you're only using 10 gallons a month, and they'll come and fill it. So that'll save us a lot of money if we can downsize those. But I'll get with her on it. I just wanted to tell you guys that.
Mr. Chair, with the Service Authority, we will have to check under DEQ rules what the rules of what kind of tank we need for the pump stations, because that's mandated by regulation.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the document that has first up in the right-hand corner is an example of an ordinance, and I kind of picked and played with surrounding jurisdictions to our north because we really don't have any barking dog ordinances in the northern neck at all. So there was nothing to look that way, or I don't think Caroline had one either, so I went the other way. You'll see that in this particular ordinance, there's got to be an audible sound of an ownership of a dog for a certain period of time, or a couple different people can make a complaint. It would be a class 4 misdemeanor. That's just an example for you all to look at. One of the things that is important in here is that it can't do anything to violate the Right to Farm Act. The Right to Farm Act is statutory, and it is pretty much enshrined in the Code of Virginia, and so that's a big out right there. Then the number 2, you'll see there's so many feet that it has to be from a dwelling, and the dog has to bark for at least 10 consecutive minutes. These are just to give you all an example of the paths you can take if you decide to go down this path. Then you need to think about, is it only going to be in a residential zoned area? Is it going to be in some other area? Is it going to be countywide, or what other districts? I think one consideration you definitely need to make is you need to talk to the sheriff and see how many FTEs you'll need to do this, because it is incredibly man-hour intensive. Because literally a deputy is going to have to come in most cases and probably wait there to see if there's a violation, or there'd have to be a video or something. And to that end, I asked the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office to weigh in on this, because they would actually be the person prosecuting these cases. And so he drafted a short memo sort of highlighting his thoughts and concerns about this. But I think one thing that is very illustrative in this is that he said that he's not aware there's ever been a successful prosecution of a violation of the county noise ordinance, period. And that just gives you an idea as to how hard it is to prove these cases, which was my original concern. And I know that it can be really difficult for people, and it really can be a nuisance. They do have the ability to go to court themselves and ask a judge for relief from that barking dog. But I think most folks would rather have the police handle it. And if the police handle it, it becomes, I mean, it's a lot for them to do. I also know that animal control may be looking into some other ways to go about this. And so we may want to hear from them. But the point is, there's a wide array of choices you can make in this. And I just tried to give you some ideas as to how to go about it. But there are a lot of considerations associated with it if you do decide to do something. I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Collins.
So, Mr. Stewart, on subsection B, noise from animals.
On second or one?
Two. On 2, it says, for the purpose of this section, a person shall be deemed to have allowed his animal to bark or create noises which are plainly audible within a residence dwelling. After 2 continued. So the word allowed is in parentheses. So, I mean, who allows their dog to bark?
And this one was either Stafford or Spotsylvania. I can't remember.
How would a court determine allowed?
I don't know how you prove that. That's part of the problem. And otherwise, you've got to have a decibel meter, and you've got to have a continuous period. I can't answer that question. And that's why Mr. Clark talked about the difficulty in proving these cases.
So in the Commonwealth's opinion, it says that the animal control is working on the problem. Do you know what that means?
Based on my discussions with Mr. Clark, he's talked to animal control. They said this is not a big problem, but I understand it is a problem for the people who have to suffer from it on a daily basis if the dog is barking right at the house. But he said it's not an issue countywide for a lot of people. They have had some calls on it. I think they worked with the gentleman that reached out to you, Mrs. Bender. He also reached out to you, and he has a difficult situation. I will tell you, animal control is trying to look at ways to do it. This is just a very tough nut to crack. Most of the time, if you go to a neighbor and say your dogs are driving me crazy, they'll do something about it, but unfortunately not always. So I just wanted to try to provide examples for you all to think about it. But I do think the Commonwealth Attorney's Office needs to be involved because ultimately they will prosecute this and the sheriff.
Thank you, sir. Anything else? Anybody got a motion to make?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
actually, did you want to do a secondary public comment?
Does anyone else like to speak? With secondary public comment? I didn't think so.
All right.
Closed. All right.
I'd like to motion that we adjourn the Board of Supervisors meeting to Tuesday, December 16th at 5:30 PM in the boardroom of the Rubicon Building.
Motion properly second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Don't smoke it. Oh. Yeah, I just need your information. Congratulations on your appointment. If you